America is in a fiscal crisis. Our national debt currently clocks in at a staggering $36.8 trillion, and it's growing every second. In a city where money is allocated and spent without a second thought, some may lose sight of just how huge a trillion really is. If you stacked a trillion $1 bills, it would reach about 67,000 miles, almost 3 times around the Earth. The 36.8 trillion would wrap around the Earth nearly 110 times. Our founders signed the U.S. Constitution in 1787. If the government had started borrowing $1 million every single day since then, our debt would only be about $86 billion. In fact, borrowing $1 million a day, our nation would be approaching its 1,753rd birthday before we would hit the $36.8 trillion mark. I say all this to illustrate the near insurmountable uphill battle we're currently facing.
Mr. Chairman, if you're concerned about trillions in debt, why are you giving trillions away to billionaires in tax cuts? Let's be clear about what's happening today. This markup is one of the most consequential proceedings this committee has ever seen, and not in a good way. We're considering the most extreme anti-environment bill in American history. It's not about deficit reduction. It's about powerful groups that fund GOP campaigns, and they have decided this is the moment to strike, to dismantle protections for our environment, wildlife, and public health, make it impossible to challenge or even question polluting projects, mandate a massive expansion of offshore drilling, putting communities from Alaska to Florida at risk of catastrophic oil spills, auction off millions of acres of pristine public lands to industry, including wilderness areas and sacred tribal sites. And under the guise of a bill that slashes spending, give away billions in subsidies to the coal industry, corporate irrigators in California, and other special interests. The vast majority of Americans hate all of this. They cherish our public lands. They value clean air and clean water and wildlife. They oppose corrupt special interest giveaways. The unpopularity of this bill is why Republicans are jamming it into budget reconciliation. It's the only way that they have a chance of passing it.
House Republicans have once in a generation opportunity to deliver on President Trump's agenda by passing a reconciliation bill that unleashes the full power of American energy and innovation, builds upon Tax Cuts and Jobs Act tax cuts to grow our economy and set our nation on a more responsible fiscal path into the future. Under the Biden administration, we witnessed rampant waste, fraud, and abuse of taxpayer dollars. Our constituents have seen enough and are demanding long-term change here in Washington.
Americans will see this for the betrayal that it is. We all remember Trump promising to deliver the cleanest air and water, bragging on the campaign trail that he was an environmentalist. Mr. Chairman, your tagline on the website for this committee is putting conservatives back into conservation. Your Earth Day messages sound like Teddy Roosevelt, promising to champion outdoor recreation and conservation, to steward natural resources for future generations. When Republicans say things like that and turn around and jam through a bill like this, Americans rightfully feel betrayed. It's the same with Trump's promises to lower costs, grow the economy, and to protect Medicaid. He must have had his fingers crossed because he's crashing the economy, driving up costs for American families, and pushing House Republicans to jam through this bill that makes all of it worse. The Natural Resources title, which we call the Environmental Liquidation for Billionaires Act, is a massive betrayal of anyone who cares about clean air and water, wildlife, outdoor recreation, protection of pristine wilderness areas, and sacred tribal sites, especially disadvantaged communities and tribes who are blocked from challenging or even questioning projects that could devastate them. That's why my Democratic colleagues and I will fiercely oppose this bill. We'll call out these betrayals all day, maybe into tomorrow. Our amendments will give Republicans every opportunity to step back from the abyss of their extremism, to show some moderation, compromise, and thoughtfulness. We'll highlight the central betrayal of this bill, paying for massive giveaways to billionaires by sticking it to ordinary Americans, helping the world's richest people get richer by slashing vital services families depend on for basic needs, and even charging the public a new fee to comment during environmental review processes. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that this Environmental Liquidation for Billionaires Act will produce something around $15 or $17 billion, if you believe it. I don't. But it's breathtakingly reckless. Gutting bedrock environmental protections, condemning vulnerable communities to long-term pollution impacts, turning public lands and waters into industrial sacrifice zones just to finance a tiny portion of your giveaway to billionaires. I predict most Republicans will skip this markup. For months, they've been hiding from constituents, canceling town halls. They know how furious people are over the chaos of Trump's first 100 days. So they'll probably hide in their offices and file in at the last minute to vote in lockstep the way Trump wants them to. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they prove me wrong. I hope they hang around for the course of this debate. I hope there's still some Teddy Roosevelt conservationists over there. Today's the test, though, because anyone who claims to be a conservationist has to show up at our only hearing and participate in the debate before this bill goes to the floor. Explain why you support the most extreme environmental wrecking ball in American history. For the American people watching, Democrats are going to fight tooth and nail against this anti-environment, anti-community, billionaire boondoggle. We're already fighting for your basic freedoms against a would-be dictator trying to dismantle our Constitution with fawning support from House Republicans. That fight now includes your freedom to breathe clean air, drink safe water, enjoy your public lands, and raise your families in communities protected by public health and environmental safeguards. I yield back.
You know, I've often talked about my childhood in rural Arkansas and how I saw firsthand what being a responsible steward. And it didn't mean that you didn't use the resources that you had. It meant that you didn't let your resources go to waste, or that you didn't abuse those resources, that you left what you had in better shape for future generations. And that's what built the conservation movement here in America. It's not a preservationist movement where we say a hands-off approach. It's where we become responsible and good stewards of the things God has blessed us with. In my childhood experience, it goes back to a garden where we planted that garden, we tended it, we took care of it, and whatever came out of that garden was either eaten, it was frozen, it was canned, it was fed to an animal, or even saved for seed. We didn't let anything go to waste. And that's the kind of responsible resource management that we should be applying to our nation's resources as well. Our legislation unleashes the United States natural resource wealth to generate over $18.5 billion in savings and new revenue for the budget, while increasing access to America's abundant natural resources cleanly, safely, and responsibly. We've worked closely with members of Congress, state and local leaders, stakeholders, our colleagues in the Senate and the Congressional Budget Office to generate large revenues for the budget by answering President Trump's call to unleash American energy dominance. The opportunity to generate resource revenue has never been greater in the energy and mineral space. Global demand for affordable, reliable energy will only continue to grow, and President Trump has made it clear that America will rise to meet that demand. By reinstating onshore and offshore oil and gas lease sales, incentivizing responsible development in Alaska, holding annual geothermal lease sales, and ensuring a fair process for critical mineral development nationwide, we generate billions of dollars in new revenue and savings for the federal government. Increasing production right here at home will create American jobs and drive economic growth that's not even considered in CBO's analysis of the $18.5 billion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The central betrayal in Republicans' Environmental Liquidation for Billionaires Act is the way it turns our environment into industrial sacrifice zones to enrich billionaires and sticks everyday Americans with trillions in costs. Republicans say this is about deficit reduction. Really? Then why include billions in new handouts to special interests? Why give corporate irrigators $2 billion for a controversial dam project in California that floods sacred tribal lands and violates state law? Why slash royalties that oil, gas, and coal companies pay to the federal government? Why expand non-competitive oil and gas leasing and give the secretary discretion to literally give some leases away for nothing? No wonder Republican leadership has told members to stay quiet and not participate in this debate. No wonder, although they're here right now because they need to establish a quorum, we're going to soon see our Republican colleagues leave this room and head back to their offices. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they will be here to participate in the debate. But I think they've got some tough questions to answer if they do, because this bill is indefensible. Just look at the offshore drilling mandate. 30 massive new lease sales in the Gulf of Mexico, whether we need them or not. Never mind that 80% of current leases in the Gulf are not producing oil. The industry is sitting on nearly 2,000 unused leases across 10 million acres, but this bill says, here, take some more. And don't bother with environmental reviews. Don't evaluate oil spill risks to coastal economies. Don't consult tribes. Don't do any mitigation to prevent the world's most endangered whale, found only in these waters, from going extinct. It's just as cartoonishly extreme onshore. In addition to slashing royalties, the bill auctions off vast stretches of our public lands for pennies on the dollar, and even authorizes Secretary Burgum to give them away for free if he feels that is warranted. And then there's the new pay-to-play permitting scheme, a cauldron of corruption unlike anything we have ever seen. Instead of a serious NEPA review, polluters can write their own environmental impact statement, pay a special fee, and have it quickly rubber-stamped, and then get total immunity from legal challenges, even if their environmental review is fake, even if it consists of them writing in crayon, "I love corruption." It's an elite buyers club for corporate polluters. If you're wealthy enough to pay the fee, you get NEPA approval for your project to poison someone's air, contaminate their water, clear-cut the forest near some community, or bulldoze a sacred site. Maybe Republicans will even send you a note saying, "Thanks for shopping. Enjoy your immunity." Make no mistake, real communities all over America will suffer if this bill passes. Pollution will increase, including forever chemicals that foul our air and water and cause cancer. Jobs tied to outdoor recreation, conservation, and clean energy jobs, jobs that vastly outnumber fossil fuel and mining jobs, will be decimated. The climate crisis will get worse, and taxpayers will lose billions from the sweetheart deals that this bill lavishes on special interests. No wonder Republicans don't want to participate in the debate. They want to keep all of this on the down low. They're hoping Americans are too distracted by all the other Trump chaos to notice what's happening to their environment, their public lands, their health, and their wallets. But people will notice. They'll see exactly who this bill is for and who gets stuck with the costs. They'll know what you did to them. This bill is a smash and grab by a party that sees its governing trifecta slipping away. The worst 100 days for any president in modern history. Chaos everywhere. Polls cratering, recession looming, constituents demanding that you stand up to Trump, stop ducking town halls, do your job. And instead of listening and stepping back from the abyss of MAGA extremism, Republicans are rushing to give away the store to their big money pals while they still can. Americans see all of this, but they also see Democrats showing up and standing up for their right to clean air, a healthy environment, responsible stewardship of public lands, and policies that serve the public interest, not just big money polluters and profiteers. I hope a few Republicans will join us today in making this destructive bill less extreme by supporting the amendments that we are about to offer. Today would be a great day to get off the MAGA crazy train before it crashes. I yield back.